Okay, here we go. Let's go. Yes, we are live. We've been doing the pre for quite some time, but now we are live. We have a special guest coming up, someone I've known a very long time. He is jumping into action. Folks, I apologize. I know we're a little glitchy. It normally settles down, and then we're good to go. So, all right, the X sound is fine. And then I don't. Hi there, there's Debbie B. There's Garney. Here we go. Now, folks, also, um, later today, tomorrow morning, we're going to be riding with local police, something I do called Road Patrol Live. And we're going to have that. Good. Gian says YouTube sounds good. We have our, as I said, Cranston Police. We're going to be riding with them again. And also now Westerly Police, we're going to be introducing that. So we're going to be very busy. It's very different. No one else locally does it. We are right there. Whatever happens, there's no delay. Everything in real time as it's happening. Many times, if someone watches, there's Jane Rice. Anyone watches Cops, that's on delay. Or the Dan Abrams show. What's the Dan Abrams show? Is I forget what the name of the Dan Abrams show is, but that's delayed. This is as it's happening. It's as raw as it is, meaning I think you know what I mean. No censor, nothing like that. And so obviously now we will be live later this afternoon. Hello from Sweden. There we go. There's some of our YouTube crowd. Folks, remember, make sure you follow the page. Thank you to all the support on YouTube. And also we have both Venmo and Cash App. You want to support good content. And yes, that's right. Westerly, which is going to be interesting because the Musqueamicut area, they get a lot of action. We're going to go by Taylor Swift's house. That's always a good thing. Well, I mean, just in case there's anything lurking there. All right, we're going to be live in just 4 minutes. Folks, listen, I'll touch on the Karen Reed trial. It's still, to me, I get some people feel like it's over, let it go, blah, blah, blah. Why are you talking about it? Because there's still a lot more to come. I know that some people don't get it. But I just want to remind you of this all stems from a lot of them. We haven't figured out, I appreciate that, Earl Grey. We haven't figured out how to try both. We have not been successful in figuring out how to have a moderator on X the way we have mods on YouTube and Facebook. And by the way, we're always in need of moderators. If you are interested, if you like the content, shoot me a message. Find a way. YouTube doesn't really have the direct message. It's always easiest to go to DePetro.com, and then right at the bottom, it says contact, and then you can contact me that way. So here we go. Boy, these people come up. Listen, in order to be able to do this, you have to be able to, I got to have the right energy. And I can't, look at this. They are relentless, but so is the truth. And it'll come out. I don't care. They're all fake. They're all paper tigers. But at some point, everything will, come out. But we're not intimidated. And we do support law enforcement. I do. Obviously, not everyone does. And so much of this vitriol, it all comes down to, it's like all you have to say, it's like a war. All they want you to do is surrender and say, okay, I believe it. 15 people are involved in a conspiracy. You know what's going to be more entertaining is when some of the people are going to be sued and they're going to have to go into court and apologize to the witnesses. You watch. Many people have never followed a case like this before. I have. Alex Jones, Sandy Hook. How's Alex Jones doing today? If he were a stock, he was riding high. He made a ton of money. Then he's broke. InfoWars broke, and he had to go into court and apologize to the families. That day will happen. In this case, of which we have a special guest coming up. In this case, people are going to go do some jail time for witness intimidation, and people are going to be sued. And so people are going to end up broke. It takes a while, but no, we don't. These are all, what do I think of Victoria George? I think she's last trial. She's like last season's, fashion. She's not in fashion anymore. She's been replaced by Miss Target, who I said to Miss Target, if you want to communicate, send me a message. I'm not going to keep going back and forth. And someone showed me she's still sending me messages. But anyhow, all right, folks, on this Thursday, by the way, the heat wave is finally broken on this Thursday, June 26th. This portion of the program is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. Remember, annuals, perennials, trees and shrubs, hanging pots, 10-inch, 12-inch moss baskets, hanging impatiens, pansy, marigold bags, large selection of beautiful patio pots, vegetable plants and herbs are available, tropical mandevillas, hibiscus plants, screen loom and mulch is available. Stop it and see them. 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Look for them on Facebook. And again, I have been mentioning that Debbie's dad passed away, and so our condolences go out. Now, I also want to remind people, right now, we are live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. I'm live on Facebook, I'm live on YouTube, and we're live on X. I'm letting you know, this is not a forum that people can fire questions and I just start answering questions. Again, I want to repeat, and I'm not upset. Some people may not realize that. You can log on wherever you are in the world. You could log on to DePetro.com right now. Crystal clear audio. Now, in northern Rhode Island into Massachusetts, you can listen at AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Now, some people may not realize when you're doing when I'm broadcasting, when I'm live, you have to be in the moment. Later in the afternoon, I can answer questions a lot of time. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to clarify that because I hear from people. I keep posting questions and he's not answering. Listen, you try to do that. You have to zone in. So, no, we have a very special guest that's going to join us in a couple moments. And also, again, for Road Patrol Live, listen, it's different. What's the nature of riding with local law enforcement? It's original content. It's live content. You can't find it. When many times there's a scene, like yesterday we're in Branch Avenue, and there were some other media outlets there. They weren't live necessarily, but they're there. But when we're live with the police, that's the only place you can see it. So I like it. We are going to be back with Cranston. Now we're going to introduce Westerly because I've had so many requests from the southern part of the state. Folks, also this portion of the program is brought to you by Propane Plus. For all your propane needs, call them today, 401-885-4209. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. And let me be very clear. It's not that I don't want to answer questions. I can't, I want you to picture if you were in a room and look at when you see a press briefing. Look when you see a press briefing. They don't have everyone yelling at once. They then, go around and answer questions in that manner. But also Propane Plus online at propaneplus.com. You just type in your zip code, residential or commercial. It's Propane Plus. Now, while we wait for our guests, and I'm very excited about this, the guest that's going to join us, he is accomplished. He is a winner. He's the type of person we need. We need people with guts and courage in office. and we're going to talk to him in just a moment. He's going for a very big seat, and we certainly want to help him any week if we can. But I want to remind you about Kids Club on the Pike. Still time. Get your child involved with their summer camp. Kids Club on the Pike, 401-443-5336. Call Kristen. They're right off of 295. They're on the Cranston-Johnston line. It's Kids Club, right off of that. It's Kids Club on the Pike. Now, also, Kids Club on the Pike is perfect for birthday parties, before and after school camp, preschool, but it is really designed. I mean, it is perfect for their summer camp. So reach out to them. Maybe it's for a week. Maybe it's for a month. Maybe it's for the whole summer. Kids Club on the Pike, 401-443-5336. And I do share some of their social media. So what we're going to do, we have our special guest that's going to be joining us coming up just a few minutes. Obviously, we'll do a shorter segment on the Karen Read trial, where there's still aftershocks. There are still people that looking to talk to, and I know that's going to happen. I think in this climate right now, it might be difficult. I don't know what would happen if a juror came forward and started saying something different than the narrative that has been out there. We still have not heard from Karen Read. The word is that she is negotiating. She wants to be compensated for it. She doesn't want to just do a regular interview. She could do a number of interviews. So, but there's been no word on that. And then I think over the next couple of weeks, I think there's going to be some people speaking out. I think there's going to be some developments in the case. I encourage people, I talk about this, to watch on HBO Max, The Truth versus Alex Jones. And it talks about how a conspiracy takes hold. I mean, that was so much bigger than Karen Read. Alex Jones, at one point, InfoWars, they were making $800,000 a day. He has all these supplements and all this other stuff. But, now he's bankrupt. InfoWars has been decimated. I also recognize some people say Alex Jones, a fantastic reporter, and Alex Jones, and I've seen him on with Joe Rogan. But if you watch that documentary, you see how the families, how they were under attack. These are the parents, had their children killed, Newtown, Connecticut, about 90 minutes from where I'm speaking to you right now. It's in Sandy Hook. How little children, right, 6 years old, they ran and were hiding in a bathroom in the classroom, and then the gunman found them, and just the sheer torture of which, I mean, that would be, so brutal that they had to go through that. Having a small child, having their life taken from them at that school. But then you have someone in the form of Alex Jones and InfoWars that creates a hoax around it and says that the father, Robbie Parker, that he was an actor, and they were all actors. And those little tiny white caskets that we saw, it's all fake. And then if you see the documentary, there's a woman that did an interview with Anderson Cooper, and Alex Jones and his crew, they tampered with it a little bit to make it seem like the video was fake. And it rocketed in so many different interviews and stories, I should say. And they did that nonstop for over 5 years, all fake headlines. FBI deemed Sandy Hook a hoax. But then the parents started to go after the story and the people that were telling the story. And the main person, there were others, but the main person was Alex Jones. And where is he now? And then he had to go into court, admit, which he did, that it was all made up, all fabricated. Sound familiar? And apologize to the parents, and then Now they'll spend forever chasing him, chasing his money. But I think the reason I encourage you to watch that is, to me, it just highlights how when a conspiracy takes hold and how people, it really just is kind of frightening. It takes over, and people are not rational, and they just, what I find kind of comical is they also just start, people treat it like a who done it. Is what I think happened. Not that there's any evidence of that, but it starts to become that someone, just people just start saying, I think, it becomes like, it's like a game. It's summertime, you're on vacation, had dinner, maybe a little fire outside, a little bit too much red wine, and people are just, I think, let's talk about the Kennedy assassination. Let's talk about, blah, 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 various things that happen. That's how some people approach this story. And I also fully get that there are some people that are upset and they say they don't, like, what's the big deal? Right? Maybe some are listening or watching right now. Move on. But what I always come back to, and bear with me, our guest actually is going to join us at 1:30. So we have time. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Roof Co. Rhode Island. Maybe you need a new roof. It's very possible. For a new roof, Roof Co. Rhode Island, call them 401-868-7149. Roof Co. Rhode Island, because many times you can experience wind damage, free estimate, leaky roof, missing lifted or curled shingles, granules in the gutter. They'd be happy to inspect your roof for wind damage, give you a free estimate. Roof Co. Rhode Island, 401-868-7149, 401-868-7149. Now look for them on social media. A new roof improves the value of your home or business. Roof Co. Rhode Island, 401-868-7149. Well, folks, again, good afternoon. So our guest is actually going to join us at, yes, Jen was great yesterday. Folks, as far as, listen, in this, in a story like this, and I tell this to individuals, notice that the O'Keefe family, they're going to go after her for wrongful death. They're going to take it to her in the courtroom. Now, as far as the number of the witnesses, and there are people that are facing serious charges, I think there's going to be more charges leveled against some individuals here. But there are certain people, they want to fight online. They want to fight online. As I have said, I have interviewed and met some pretty tough individuals. I've been to prison and interviewed people. Those of you who follow Road Patrol Live, I've interviewed gang members. I know what's left of it, some enforcers of organized crime. I know some people that are some, dangerous people, if you want, involved with motorcycle activity and so forth. So my point is, I know you kind of, you know a tough guy when you meet them, right? Someone that's actually difficult. What we have here are people, they just want to fight online. And that's what they, right? That's what they want to do. It's kind of like if you're going to wrestle with the pig wants to get muddy. So you don't. It doesn't go into that mode. You don't do that. The way to go after this, that you're going to see play out, will be in the court system, will be in the court of law. And as I've said, I think the Sandy Hook example was to me, that's the blueprint of how you go after them. They weren't just then trying to battle all of this noise online. Nope, it came down to a court of law. And there were people arrested, by the way. There were people flying in. to go after them. Now, in Rhode Island, earlier, I was talking about, I mean, this is pretty amazing. You have a governor who, Governor McKee, all Democrats, right? Leader of the House, Democrat Senate, and a Democrat governor. And what him trying to thread the needle, saying, I'm against this budget, but why don't you veto it? No, I'm not going to veto it. I mean, you want to talk about lack of leadership. I think right now, a lot of people would agree with me. We need leaders. It's not easy to find good leaders, right? What you're seeing right now, to me, we need leaders. It is a turbulent time. It is a turbulent time. And look at, they want to talk about democracies under attack. In New York City, the person that won the Democrat primary is a socialist. Now, I lived in New York for 9 years. I love New York City. I have a child that lives in New York City. I love visiting New York City. This could be the end of New York City. That's not what the system. We're not a socialist. If he wins, and I don't know if he's going to win the mayoral, because Eric Adams is now going to be in the general. Even Cuomo is saying he may run now as an independent. We need quality individuals to seek office. We need people who are not afraid to take a stand. And they're not easy to get to. And in just a moment, you're going to meet someone, proven leadership, very valued individual. And the people in New Hampshire their day is coming. They're very, very fortunate with what's about to happen. But I want to remind you, when disaster strikes, folks, Serve Pro of Providence. Call them 401-941-5500. Fast, thorough, professional. They're available 24/7. It's Serve Pro of Providence. If you have a fire or a flood or mold, Serve Pro of Providence for your business, home, 401-941-5500. Well, folks, my next guest, I've had the privilege of knowing him for 20 years. I also have known the daughter. He served the people of Massachusetts. The guy is a veteran. He is a born leader. He was an ambassador in the Trump administration. And it is lucky for the people of New Hampshire that he is now jumping in and would like to represent New Hampshire in the Senate. And it is the one and only, we want to welcome Ambassador Scott Brown. Ambassador, good afternoon, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
John, it's always good to see you. And I think it's been a little longer than 20 years, but I'll take the 20. It's great to see you and be on with you.
It has been. You've been busy though.
Yeah, yes. Listen, we have a lot of fun, and it's been.
Ambassador, I want to start off. Just if you touch on what was it? Talk a little bit about first the privilege you had being an ambassador in under the Trump administration.
Well, first of all, it was an honor. I'm from New Hampshire, and I was confirmed as a Granite Stater, 94-4, the second longest serving ambassador behind Israel. Served almost 4 years. So I had New Zealand, Cook, Niue, Samoa, and our interest in Antarctica. And it was an honor. My job, really, by my own choosing, was to push back against China. They're building and militarizing islands, changing the law of the air and sea that's been in place for centuries, over leveraging Pacific Island nations. And if you can't pay, they take a UN boat or a port or a dock that we built in World War II. There's, as you know, stealing our intellectual property, manipulating their currency. And, they need people to push back, especially in the Indo-Pacific and with the ASEAN countries. So, yeah, it was an honor to serve. As you know, we had the Christchurch massacre there, and President Trump was very helpful in getting us the tools and resources we need to make sure that it didn't happen again, or there wasn't a second wave. We had the White Island volcano, where it's in a Netflix movie now, where we had citizens die there in a tour ship. Hey, let's go on a volcanic island. Oh, it just happened to blow up. So, yeah, it was an honor. I served, really, it's a very special place, New Zealand, 5 million people, 25 million sheep. But back then it was a left of center. Now it's a right of center country.
Scott Brown, take us in your decision. You've made it official. You're going for the Senate in New Hampshire.
Yeah, listen, it was an honor to serve in Massachusetts. Like I said, I was born here. I lived here for a couple of years before I moved to Massachusetts, because my parents got divorced. My dad was an airman at Pease and my mom was in Portsmouth. But listen, I have no regrets. I have some amazing friends, and my daughter's still in Weymouth, Ayla, that you referenced earlier. But I'm
Yes.
looking around after I came back from New Zealand, things were upside down. The open borders, the kind of DEI and woke policies, the boys and men and women's and girls sports, lying about Joe Biden's mental and physical health, the sanctuary cities, giving away all the free stuff to people that don't deserve it and haven't earned it. And I said, I'm done. I need to get involved. And especially with our delegation, as you referenced, you have all Democrats. Well, here it's all Republicans. You have a Republican governor, House, Senate, and Executive Council, but the federal delegation is Democrat. So that New Hampshire advantage that we have, which is no income tax, no sales tax, no bottle bill, carry a gun or not, wear a motorcycle helmet or not, just kind of that almost libertarian mentality is being attacked by a federal delegation, more taxes, more regulations, and all the policies I just referenced. And I thought we could do better, quite honestly.
What's the reaction been so far since word has started to get out? Scott Brown, Senate, Republican, New Hampshire.
Yeah, we had a great day financially raising money. It was six figures, obviously, and doing really well. I had been doing the groundwork now for about a year and a half, meeting with the activists and meeting with those people who may not have been on board when I ran 15 years ago, but they're on board now. We have a good coalition going, a lot of good support. And I'm just going to treat it like I did back in the day and like I do with my life, living every day and working every hour as if it's my last. And then, trying to earn the people's votes. A little different than in Rhode Island because, there's a very strong union presence there. But in New Hampshire,
Yes.
People say, hey, listen, have you met Scott Brown? Yeah, I like him a lot, but I got to meet him 3 or 4 more times. They expect that. And I plan to do that. And it's only 1.2 million people, I think. And probably you'll average about 750, maybe 800,000 votes total. And this time in a midterm, it's probably going to be about 550, 600,000. So, yeah, and we have more registered Republicans than Democrats, and then the independents actually are a little higher.
Talk a little bit about, Governor Sununu. From what I understand, he's been very supportive, welcoming. He's on board with the Brown campaign.
Well, yeah, listen, the governor is a good man. I know him. He's a friend. I would have certainly deferred to him, but he's made a different life choice. He's been doing it for 8 years, and he needs to go out and do things that he wants to do. He's still young enough. He can always come back, and I encourage him to do that. But, John, I'm 65 years old. I'm a grandfather of 4. And I want to make sure that, I don't need any more titles. As I said, assessor, selectman, state rep, state senator, U.S. senator, U.S. ambassador, right? Soldier. I don't need any more titles, but the guy I'm running against, Chris Pappas, he wants another title. I just want a stronger America. It's pretty simple.
I'd like to hear your thoughts. Just, Trump administration has come in, moved very rapidly. What are your thoughts so far, this new administration? How do you see how they're doing in Washington?
Well,
what are they doing right? What are some things that you think they could improve on?
Well, considering they're getting zero help from the Democrats, I mean, he's moving at warp speed, doing the things he absolutely said he was going to do. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, obviously closing the border, getting rid of the men and boys and women's sports, doing all that by executive order and putting it all together, quite frankly, in a bill. So, it gets codified, and then it's very difficult to actually, change those things. But the good news is you can change them once the bill is implemented. If there are things that are not working out, which I understand they're looking at, they can always fix them and take them out. But you need to get that basic framework in it. There's a process to it. I think what he did in Iran, against Iran, was brilliant. Men and women who did the mission are amazing. Thought I was looking at like a Brad Thor novel or a Mission Impossible show. I mean, the fact that they did it, they've been training and in those seats for 36 hours was Herculean. And the fact that you had President Obama went after bin Laden, didn't get congressional authority, dropped 26,000 bombs. He didn't get congressional authority. Clinton didn't get congressional authority. Biden didn't get it. JFK, Bay of Pigs, didn't get it. Thomas Jefferson, 1801, the Barbary Pirates, sending up fleet to open up the sea lanes. He didn't get it, but President Trump apparently needs it. He's outside his authority. And let's try to impeach him. Yeah, it makes no sense. It's a double standard. It's clearly personal. And my disappointment is that there aren't any, except Fetterman. He should be the leader of the party. actually say, you know what, let's find one thing, $1 to save, one thing to do to help this administration, quite frankly, help our country. So I think he's doing a good job.
Scott, what do you make of now? It's just breaking, but in New York City, this isn't a progressive Democrat that won the New York City mayoral. He's a socialist. What does it tell you about where is the Democrat Party right now? Who are the leaders of the Democrat Party? All I ever hear are Bernie Sanders, AOC. Now you have a New York City mayoral. He won the primary, and he is a sworn socialist.
Yeah, well, and actually he's an anti-Semite too, but yet Bernie Sanders and Nadler endorsed him. How crazy is that? Yeah, it's scary. Not only a socialist, he's somebody who was called for basically defunding the police, taxing millionaires, open up government-owned grocery stores. Are we in Russia? I mean, really, are we in some foreign country? Who's going to pay the rent on those buildings? Who's going to pay for all these things? Oh yeah, you're going to get what, $300 billion from the rich people in New York? It's not going to happen. It makes no sense. So yeah, listen, that's the nature and state of the Democratic Party. There, it's just so far left and completely unreasonable and out of touch with mainstream America. And that's why you don't have any of those blue dog Democrats anymore. Those JFK Democrats, they've all been RFK Democrats. They've been chased out, and so you're stuck with these people who basically want free stuff and want to basically turn into a socialist country. Well, good luck. Excuse me. Good luck with that.
Scott, what's this race going to be about? What is the race? How do you view what are going to be the issues that are going to define this race?
Well, certainly, the guy running, he's a 3-term congressman. We're different in so many different ways. I'm just going to talk about the policies that he supports and the policies I support. The fact that I reference all the things that I've done in my life compared to the things he's not done. Like, I've done trade deals. I've dealt with ambassadors as a senator and obviously as a diplomat. I've worked on tragedies in other countries. I served in the military. I've been to Afghanistan. Afghanistan, Pakistan, Israel, Dubai, Jordan, Kazakhstan, and Kuwait. So I have a good knowledge of that area, understand the intricacies of it. So yeah, it's going to be just basically about the differences between us. I don't think it should be personal at all. I mean, he seems like a nice guy. I don't know what he's done, but even in my short time there, 3 years, I helped pass the Stock Act, which is an insider trading bill. When I left, they actually did away with it. So there's a lot of things that we can do and continue to do, and I'm very excited to have potentially an opportunity to get back at it.
And what about in D.C.? I would think that Senate Majority Leader Thune, I mean, this is like Christmas came early, that Scott Brown is going to jump in the race and run for that New Hampshire Senate seat.
Well, John's a dear friend. I went to his daughter's weddings, out in his home, and I've been to his home. I saw him when I was in D.C. He just texted me today. So yeah, he's doing a great job. Boy, I'll tell you, the way he got our nominees and our cabinet picks through, just a wonderful, wonderful man. So yeah, I hope he's excited. I went down and obviously have, met with the appropriate people. Obviously, they're very busy now doing the budget and obviously pushing the president's agenda. So I'm doing it. I'm moving forward regardless of the support. But I'm hopeful, and I believe I will get it ultimately. But, they're busy. They got to do their jobs. It's not on their radar yet, rightly so.
How much do you think, we've seen some of the protests, the No Kings. How much do you think in this your opponent is really just kind of, it's like he's not running against you, he's running against the Trump White House?
Yeah, they've already tried to do that. I'm a MAGA Republican Trump loyalist. I'm not even sure what that means. Yes, I served the president, but I've always been that Scott Brown Republican, that independent thinker, as evidenced by my votes. I read the bills. I see how they affect our state, our country, our debt and deficit, and I vote. I always have. If it's a good bill and it's a good idea, I don't care who gets it, as long as it's helping our state and our country. Unlike, Pappas, who's, comes back and say, oh, I'm a moderate. I voted with the Republicans a couple of times. He's not. He supports the men and women's sports. He's doubled down. He supports the open border and sanctuary cities. He lied about Joe Biden's mental health forever. So no. So we're going to talk about those things. and we'll see where the chips fall.
How can people? You have so many fans, really all over, but you also have a big base of fan supporters in Massachusetts. You ran, I don't have to tell you, one of the most brilliant races, whether it was standing outside Fenway Park, shaking hands, or the iconic commercial, the truck in Dad's home. How can people start to get involved with the Scott Brown for Senate campaign?
Well, before I forget, my band just played at Chan's the other night in Woonsocket. That was great. We had a great show. Obviously, I do have a rock band. We're still playing. We're going to play down in Newport actually in a little while.
Wow.
People can certainly check out our website. But
okay,
it's a good relaxing thing. But for this purpose, because I do need an outlet, else I'll basically lose my mind. You can go to scottbrown.com. You can donate and volunteer. Obviously, every dollar helps. I mean, a bumper sticker is $1. It's soon to be a stamp potentially, so anything helps. We need to raise probably about 20 million, and we're going to chip away every day. And if we get it, great. If we don't, we're going to keep battling and do shoe leather, which we'll do in combination with those efforts. So thanks for bringing that up. And certainly this is not just a New Hampshire race. This is a New England race. The only out of 32 federal delegation members, we only have one, Susan Collins. Can't we have two? Can we have two? Somebody who can help, not only New Hampshire, but the entire New England states and the entire country by being a clear-headed, mature, rational, problem solver. How about that for a change?
Yes. Scott, before I let you go, what is a problem is people in our area, they don't feel represented. There's so many people in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire that voted for President Trump. And I mean, I hear it repeatedly of people. I don't have anyone in Washington who's speaking out for me. I don't have anyone that's representing me. I mean, Massachusetts, of course, definitely not. Rhode Island's the same way. I think you're right. This is a New England race. There's got to be a foothold somewhere to break through. It would be so refreshing to have another Republican in the Senate, this time coming from New Hampshire.
Well, John, listen, just tell your citizens and your listeners, well, the way to fix that is to help me get in office. And my phone and door will always be open. I'll do my very best to help. And if not, I'll speak to your representatives to help, and I'll push them to do their jobs. It's going to be a bloodbath, going to be a battle. I've done it before. I'm going to do it again. And, I pray every night that I have, people like you and others support. And so once again, get on scottbrown.com, stop complaining and actually get involved like we did the first time.
Again, before I let you go, I mean, talk about the honor of a lifetime. You were an ambassador for President Trump. I mean, whether it was when Cheap Trick visited or you just helping various people there. What I mean, that is just, I mean, this what was like the peak of that whole experience, Scott?
Well, it's just an absolute honor. It's the highlight of my life. I mean, I have kids and grandkids and married 39 years this July 12th. And I'm glad I remembered it. My wife will be listening. And of course I did. But yeah, listen, we had Cheap Trick. I went over to Australia, played with 2 finales, 6 songs at the Enmore Theatre in Sydney. And it was just an absolute honor to be able to be the president's, it's called the plenipotentiary, president's sole representative in foreign countries, where I was speaking for the president. It was a great honor. And I took that honor very seriously, and it's a very serious job, regardless of where it is. And it gave me a tremendous amount of respect for our State Department personnel, especially the ones that are like in different countries. I remember being at the Foggy Bottom dining room, which is at the State Department, and I was talking about people. They said, "Where are you going?" I go, "New Zealand." And they go, "Where?" In New Zealand. And the reason I did that is because the people there were in harm's way. There was one guy who was going to a country, and I said, "So where's your embassy?" Oh, he said, "It's at the airport." I go, "Oh, really? What is it like?" He said, "Well, it's a bunker. We basically have beans and rice every day. I can't go out because of the snipers, and there's a gorgeous beach. I said, yeah, and there's beaches in New Zealand. I'm a triathlete. He goes, yeah, well, if you go near the water, the sharks jump up. They can actually like jump up literally on the land and grab you and drag you in and kill you. So other than that, it's a great place. And it made me realize how blessed I was. And it made me respect so much the sacrifice and service that these men and women do for our country. You'd never really know it. You know, you think of Hillary Clinton or John Kerry, but behind the scenes, there are these amazing women and men who are doing their jobs. So, yeah, it was something I'll never forget. And I'll always be appreciative for that effort.
Folks, again, it is Ambassador Scott Brown. I am just so happy. This is tremendous. Like I said, natural born leader. You've proven it. What a treat this is going to be. This is an important race for everyone to get involved in. And this is going to be the first of several times going to have you on. And I want to come out and see the band as well. So, Scott, listen, congratulations. We are behind you 100%. And
all right, everybody. God bless. Cheers.
Absolutely. All right. Bye-bye. Good luck on the campaign trail. Okay. Thanks. Folks, there it is. Ambassador Scott Brown right here on the John DePetro Show. Now, I do want to apologize. I'm well aware it was a little glitchy. That's on, well, we don't know. It was on my end. We will improve on that. My apologies. I am aware. And sometimes, listen, I have been doing national stuff, and sometimes you can fall into that. So we're going to fine tune it a little bit, try to pop through. I get it. And the thing is, once you're going, you can't then just bail out. But there are some measures we're going to take. A little bit glitchy there. But I mean it. Scott Brown, he is a winner. He's the type of person you need out there. That's the type of person, because we are under attack. And as I started to say, that's a leader. We need more leaders. We don't have enough leaders right now. Massachusetts, to me, is basically void of leaders. New Hampshire's in better shape. You know what's also interesting? New Hampshire and Rhode Island basically have the same size population. And New Hampshire is just such a better run state. New Hampshire has half of the budget. They have half the number of state employees. They don't have the union dominance that Rhode Island does. New Hampshire is very, very attractive to a lot of people, but they need someone like Scott Brown in that Senate seat. Folks, this portion of our program is brought to you by Arch Design Builders. Call them today, 401-207-4124. 401-207-4124. Arch Design Builders, whether it's kitchens or bathrooms or basements or decks or special projects. Arch Design Builders. Call Ed and Roxanne, family-owned and operated, high-end, custom-build customer service. It's Arch, A-R-C-H, Arch Design Builders, 401-218-9707, and I share them on Facebook. As far as Rhode Island, and I want to touch on right now, Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee is running unopposed, and you need someone that could run to beat that individual. But until that happens, and it's not going to be Ashley Kalis. She's not running. I didn't think she was that. I mean, she's a nice enough person. I don't think she really ran it. Well, I know she didn't really run a great campaign 3 years ago. She's not running. So I don't know who that person is going to be. But of course he should be beatable. Of course he should be beatable. He has a 19% approval rating. But right now, no one is running. And the guy knows how to cut deals, make promises, and get people to collect ballots for him. So now I do want to touch on the Karen Reed trial, but I want to stay on schedule because this portion of our program is brought to you by Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Now remember, Quality Asphalt Seal Coating, they can make your pavement look like new, whether they can epoxy garages and patios, decorative concrete flooring, sport court resurfacing, pickleball, tennis, basketball. Call Corey, free estimate, Quality Asphalt Seal Coating, 401-283-9815. 401-283-9815. for quality asphalt seal coating, epoxy garages and patios, decorative concrete flooring, pickleball court, tennis court, basketball court. It's quality asphalt seal coating. All right, I want to touch on the Karen Reed trial. That's true. Court of law found not guilty. Some things that I don't understand about it. And no one can explain. Why is it that everybody's lying except for Karen? What do we know about Karen Reed? Never been married, no children, clearly alcohol problems. There's a friend of John O'Keefe that wrote something, and it's fantastic. Carl, I used to see him in court, good friend of John, and he makes sense on things. The Reed side, it's all liars, just like her little pet turtle, who was having panic attacks at the thought he was going to have to go back to jail. Panic attacks. So they lie. They're pathological liars. But Carl, who's a friend of John, he wrote something, and there's someone online calls herself Tuesday Gazette, and she's a very gifted writer, and she published it. And as I'm reading that, I'm thinking, like, wow, more people need to hear this. And he illustrates some points that it doesn't get covered enough. And again, I've heard from some people I've known since first grade. I went to St. Paul school with them. I've literally known them my entire life. Why are you listening to, you're listening to someone you don't even know who keeps changing her story. They've lost their mind with the whole thing. And when people say that, it's time to move on and blah, blah, like, no, it's not time to move. We can't afford to let people get away with it like that. And that's what's happening right now. But as I've also stated, it's not enough that they got away with it. They're trying to change the narrative of what happened. And so I get it. Hey, listen, last Wednesday, who walked down the courthouse steps with the crowd? All zeros, by the way. Boo, the whole thing. I get that. No, I normally like the applause. I'm normally on the side of that. And some people, it's like they can't get through the head. And the way they can justify things. Well, it's like, how can you support those people? Karen and her little pet, they're the worst person. And they're pathological liars. They lie about everything. But I want to just read quickly what Carl wrote. I don't, by the way, I'm not convinced. There are some people that you can't get through to them because they're so far down the rabbit hole on it. But it doesn't mean that everyone should just go along. I think it's in Tuesday Gazette, she mentions Alex Jones. See, this is what, if this goes back to, it's not exactly parallel, but how would people feel if, look at some of the gangs in the country, right? Look at MS-13 or some of the cartels. What if they started getting their members found not guilty because the jury was afraid of them or the witnesses didn't want to testify? I mean, you're going towards anarchy. It used to be like that with organized crime. It was. And I'm half Italian. That's why they had to come up with the RICO statute. We can't have a system like that. And she writes, they'll shame and demean anyone who dares to oppose the conspiracy. I don't understand that. All the vitriol, these people hate me because I refuse to believe that 15 people killed him in the basement. It's nonsensical. There's no evidence to that. Now he's in the garage. This is like a mental health crisis. I get that a lot of people don't think that logically. I get that a lot of people would never make it as a detective. I get that. But there's some like intelligent people. it was all disproven. There was no Google search at 227, which I still think is one of the litmus tests. Don't you understand? Like, what makes her the beacon of truth? That drunk, that crazed drunk with the voice, yeah, I might gonna hate you. Like, she's the beacon of truth. How is that the beacon of truth? Not like a Mother Teresa, not like a Reagan. How is that thing the beacon of truth? How is that person? Everyone's lying except for her. It's impossible. You know, as Carl wrote, he is a good friend of John's. I'd see him and his wife Jackie at court. Really, really good guy. And John's buddy Carl, and they knew him really very, very well. So listen to this, Carl. And again, this is on X, Tuesday Gazette. I could post it on other platforms. The morning of January 29th, I came inside from shoveling, got a phone call. My friend John O'Keefe was found dead. And there's various photos. They were both police officers. Got off the phone, called Karen Reed immediately. I left her a voicemail saying I was sorry. Please call. I'm on my way. Drove to the hospital, then to John's house in Canton. By that time I got there, Karen was already gone. So again, this is a friend of John's. Carl, great guy. Nice photo of the two of them, as a matter of fact. So think of that. He's like, oh my God, Karen, I just heard I'm on my way. So by the time he got there, Karen was gone. Listen, I have not heard back from Karen to this day. No return calls in the day in between his death, her arrest. No explanation. Carl, could you please help me figure this out? Carl, I'm sorry you lost your friend. Nothing. Prior to that night, Karen was my friend as well. We had her over at our house several times. She spent time with my wife and our kids, Jackie, who I'd see in court. She went out with my wife and her friends. Jackie says, hey, I'm going to bring along, this is Karen. She's dating a friend of ours, John, with her crew. Girls' night. Drinking whatever. I'm sure he'll heavy drinking. We had dinner, the four of us. Watched Patriot games. She tearfully confided in my wife on more than one occasion. John's family told me later that day she quickly fled to Dighton not long after, watching emotionlessly as John's folks told his niece and nephew he was gone. Karen drove off, leaving the O'Keefes without John and a million unanswered questions. Again, this is written by Carl Dougal, his friend. I just have to remember all the bad times, and quote, we'll probably never speak again, is all she could say to them. Karen did not ask what happened or who could have killed John. Nothing to that effect, and she certainly, quote, did not marshal any resources to find the truth. What does that tell you? How about the fact he leaves her a message? Oh my God, Karen, it's Carl. I'm on my way. I can't believe that. Nothing. He writes, Karen already knew the truth. If it were me or any decent person who knew they didn't just kill somebody, no amount of lawyers or concerned fathers or screaming, grieving mothers could drag me away from that house and that family till I found out who caused my significant other death. I'd be shouting from the rooftops that I was not the person responsible. I'd be asking questions of anyone and everyone till I knew. It would not take me 18 months to give a contrived, rehearsed statement from the courthouse steps. Steve Cooper, Coop, I saw him at the verdict. Channel 7 asked her if she was saying she didn't do it. She froze, gave a non-answer. Similar to how she admitted to hitting him that morning numerous times, several different people without even being asked. I know he's dead. Maybe a snowplow hit him is an odd thing to say to a fringe acquaintance. There was no state of shock or trauma unless Karen had already driven by, saw him, and knew she had hit him hours earlier. She did it. She knew it. She knew it when Cooper asked her. She knows it now. Her attorneys know it. She could not even speak the words she didn't. There's something else going on here. When he and I spoke on the phone post-reunion. Here's what Carl writes. She's by. What did she say, Sue? We all know who did this. She's behind all of this. The leaked autopsy photos, the Hail Mary misinformation campaign, the lies, accusations, the encouraging of social media cartoon characters and their followers to attack and harass any witness, family member, or friend who tells the truth. It's her manipulating you all the way she manipulated John into staying with her longer than he wanted to. And I've heard this from so many of his friends. He was dying to get away from her and dump her. Manipulating all the way she manipulated John, staying with her longer than he would have liked. Manipulating John into believing her lies, phantom brain tumor, constant need for attention. Just a couple of many deceptions she spoke continues to speak. Carl writes, John was the guy who salt to the earth. No one in that house had an issue or would have had a reason to strike him. Of course not. You know, that's one thing. None of his friends say he wasn't a fighter. No one says, hey, I've been out with John. He didn't pick fights. Because he didn't. A person who would never leave someone in need. John was a great man and friend, sadly forgotten behind all the sideshow nonsense she's fueling. Please do not invoke his name during your next pre-planned pep rally. You insult his legacy, his family. Multitude of people tried in vain to help him. The story they create out of thin air is a pathetic lie orchestrated by her and Harvey Weinstein's former attorney, Alan Jackson. The poor, innocent, well-educated college professor somehow tricked into believing she had killed her boyfriend. That was I was told. When I was told this 2 years ago, they brainwashed her that morning and tricked her. The unbelievable 100-person, one-dog conspiracy to frame her. No amount, this is Carl now, Carl Dugan, no amount of lies, accusations, terrorizing of witnesses, or internet bullying will change the fact Karen Reed got drunk. She was drunk, put her full-size SUV in reverse, hit my friend at full speed, and left him incapacitated on the side of the road to die alone in the cold like an animal. Wow. Very powerful. That is what happened. He was friends with John. So many of these people, you didn't know him. He was friends with John O'Keefe. Plain English. Well, the garage, all made up. Foolishness. Absolute lies. No. She doesn't get to walk away from this. Nope. Not happening. I'm going to reach out to Carl. That was very powerful. Folks, this portion of our program brought to you by J. Perry Paving. High quality, fair pricing, exceptional service, 20 years experience, specialized commercial paving, residential paving, seal coating. Committed to staying on schedule, all projects. J. Perry Paving. Call them for a free estimate, 401-732-1730. Look for them on Facebook, letter J, J. Perry Paving, 401-732-1730. That was really well written by Carl. Think of that. And she sees them in court. He was in court all the time. Same thing with his wife, Jackie. And they're attacked. He was there, meaning he knew John and Karen before this incident happened. He was friends, good friend of John. Attacked. He sees right through it. That's the part, I get it. But we can't have someone, much like OJ. No. When someone gets away with something, we don't just let them get away with it. We don't. And shame on a bunch of you. You don't know her. You don't know her little pathological lying pet. These people aren't worth it. They're trash. They're human debris. They're twisted. They're pathological liars. Like of all lots to throw yourself in with, they are just not good people. All right, we're going to be back later on. 4:30 we'll be live on the radio. Stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news.